Hi everyone, thanks for watching this video. In the paper Tales of Institutioning and Commoning, we concentrate on the situated processes in which design researchers can find themselves in when institutioning, commoning and infrastructuring are all legitimate lenses for analyzing a project that involves design researchers, institutional actors and grassroots communities. We looked for ways to enlighten the construction of alliances, the mapping of different goals and interests, and to navigate the tensions at play while keeping PD's emancipatory goals as a fundamental priority. To achieve this goal, we have built a preliminary model connecting the processes of institutioning and commoning to the lens of strategies and tactics, and we identified 5 concepts to think about our work. Here we discuss 4 of them, relying on tales, illustrative cases coming from our previous empirical research.
Huybrechts and colleagues introduced a notion of institutioning as a way for PD to re-engage with institutions, which they argue is necessary if we are to repoliticize PD and co-design. In our paper, we illustrate institutioning by drawing on our PD work with the City of Logan in Australia as an example of a local government institution. We discuss the risks of co-optation and propose intermediation to foster institutioning and counteract co-optation. Co-optation describes institutions assimilating PD processes in order to legitimize their predetermined planning or design outcomes. Co-opting PD methods can happen intentionally or unintentionally, but in both cases often risk losing their emancipatory qualities. Another form of co-optation can distort PD's ethos of empowerment and social transformation. For example, a city government might outsource work to industry to solve city problems that are paradoxically rooted in the systemic inequalities of neoliberalism itself. Institutions risk imparting this frame on PD processes and outcomes. While we acknowledge the increasing pressure for cities to be competitive in global economies, here our concern is to find a constructive way for PD researchers to recognize and counteract the risks of co-optation. PD methods and practices of flat hierarchies and uninhibited ideation often clash with institutional cultures and hierarchies, slow and low-risk decision-making, and organizational politics.
In our paper, we present intermediation as a new suite of practices that can aid participatory designers in their institutioning efforts and respond to some of these challenges. Rather than focusing on perfecting the design process, intermediation focuses on what happens before and after designing takes place, and results have to be integrated back into the institutional processes and culture. Intermediation is an existing practice in arts, brokerage, and management, and we argue that there is merit in adopting it for institutioning efforts because it can expand PD skill sets in communication, sense-making, dot joining, frame shifting, advocacy, and diplomacy.
The relationship between designers and grassroots communities can be framed in terms of commoning, a process informed by grassroots practices that nurture social collaboration and the emergence of collaborative subjects. We illustrate the process of commoning by drawing on the tale of Macau, an independent cultural center occupied by artists and cultural workers in Milan, Italy. The experience of Macau is marked by recurrent conflicts with the municipality of Milan and at the same time by a collaboration with the Common Fair project. We have problematized the commoning practices between designers and activists through the concept of entanglement, which points to a crucial inseparability between knowing and making practices. The case of Common Fair and the tale of Macau show that entanglements between critical understandings of the world and design practices can take shape by building up ecologies of actors with overlapping theoretical positions in parallel to the understanding of how Common Fair, intended as a concept, practice, and the translation into the digital platform commonfair.net could be shaped. The role of designers in this respect is that of fostering the design of socio-technical assemblages in which conflicts and shared positions can be articulated and collectively addressed.
On the other side of this relationship, we discuss the formation of publics, for which PD points to a conglomeration of individuals with different stakes who, as a group, confront a societal issue. For the case of Macau, framed within the Common Fair project, we see an example of relations between different parties, designers, a grassroots community, and institutions, with a clear conflict between the community and the municipality of Milan, and designers needing to balance different agendas. To support Macau, design choices in Common Fare include a storytelling tool with no likes, no ratings, no social media sharing, but with the possibility to add comments. These decisions allowed people to articulate their conflicts within an environment perceived as safe and friendly.
Looking at the tales comparatively through the language of strategies and tactics, we see power conflicts that manifest in different ways. Our analytical framework tries to connect the situated choices of PD to broader political, economic, and social context if researchers and practitioners seek to use PD as a mechanism for social transformation. Only from a situated perspective, it is possible to understand the power relations, institutional cultures, internal policies, and organizational barriers, limiting the action of institutional actors and grassroots communities. Our analytical framework can provide an initial guidance in connecting the wider political narratives with the situated practices of PD. In the context of cities of Logan, for instance, our analysis points to a consideration of multi-level governance configuration that suggests that borrowing PD insights from institutionalism studies in political science can enable PD researchers to grasp a better understanding of a project manifestation and embeddedness in multi-level governance structures. The political economic rationale at both local and higher levels feeds back to directly influence institutional cultures and objectives and therefore initiatives. PD needs to be located and strategically applied with the specific political economic context. This is when focusing on entanglement of theories, lenses to look at the world, design processes, and grassroots actions constitute a necessary and relevant move, as well as its interrelation with processes of public formation. Entanglements and public formation can be promoted by design researchers in conjunction with grassroots communities when the issues at stake are crucial for the experience of communities themselves. That is particularly relevant when, as in the case of the Common Fare project, there are opportunities to make radical alternatives visible. PD can therefore recurrently interfere with dominant narratives by supporting practices of solidarity, linking them together to resist the narrowing effect of neoliberal hegemony. This is where design researchers engaging in intermediation can find another arena for critical intervention. Bringing together all those threads in practice requires a point of reference for the design researcher's action and professional development. This is a way of evaluating if the situated processes are leaning towards cooptation by or intermediation within institutions, or which theories and approaches can contribute to the entanglements of design practices and projects with the grassroots communities, and in this way stimulate a stronger public formation. This requires a combination of rigorous empirical scholarship to understand the world and practical work to contribute to its responsible transformation.